we've we've heard about what was going on with Visa, and we're finally seeing gamers strike back at Visa, and it's working. Remember how we were wondering how is just bombarding Visa with phone calls going to impact what they're trying to do to gamers? We're finally seeing the results. We are starting to see results regarding the gamers bombarding Visa with phone calls. Hirohei put this out. Apparently, Visa's not very happy about receiving these thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of phone calls every day. So let's take a look.
We've got a hilarious update on the payment processor situation. Quick context to this. Early on, when Collective Shout went after payment processors to try and get them to go after Steam, and Steam ended up changing their policies over all this stuff, removing certain adult games. You know the story. Well, people were coming up with ideas to fight back against the payment processors, and one of the ideas...
Yeah, and what this person said and is being echoed here is absolutely correct. This part right here. If any of you strays or anybody watching my video on YouTube wants to take part in contacting Visa to express your displeasure with what's going on, remember this. Don't be an asshole. Don't be a shithead. The customer service rep that you are talking to has less than zero input in regards to the actions that Visa is taking from the upper levels. They are just some minimum wage customer service worker who is taking phone calls, and they are not the ones to make this decision. So be nice to the customer service reps. Explain your situation calmly, tell them you are dissatisfied, and don't be an asshole. These people didn't make this decision. Remember that.
That was being shared early on was, for example, as you can see here on our Steam.
Be persistent, but don't be an asshole.
How to directly pressure payment processors. If you have a Visa card, go here. Tell Visa you're ticked. We need to directly pressure them. Be nice, don't be rude. Remember, customer service tech you're talking to didn't make the decision, but we need to stand up against censorship. And so some people are sharing their testimonials, if you will.
And side tangent. This is true anytime you call a customer service rep. This is not just explicit only to Visa. I want to point this out. It's completely sideways from the Visa thing. Remember this anytime you call any customer service rep for something like your ISP or your cell phone company. And there's something going on with the bill. Remember, the person that you're talking to on the phone is not the one that made the decisions. They are simply there to answer the phone and to help you with the tools that they have available. Remember that. When you are talking to a customer service rep...
Unfortunately, you can't do this for YouTube and Google because it's impossible to get a hold of an actual human.
This is true, yes. But when you're calling customer service because you have a problem with your bill, remember, number one, they're not the ones that put the bill together. They had less than zero to do with it. They are also limited by the tools they have available to them. Keep that in mind. When you are calling a customer service and you have a problem, they are limited in regards to what they can do. If they need to escalate, they basically send off an email, and that is all they are capable of doing. Just remember that. Anytime you call a customer service rep, don't be an asshole. They're just as unhappy that you're unhappy. Because when they get a call from an unhappy customer, that makes their day bad because many a times they can't help that. And that frustrates them. Believe me, the customer service reps get just as frustrated that they can't help you as a customer as you are as the customer frustrated that nothing's being done. Just remember that when you talk to a customer service rep.
There's stories about what happened when they contacted these payment processors, and it seems like this is actually, on some level, working. So this is a good update, and also a hilarious one. So I mentioned there were some testimonials, or however you want to put it. Let me show you what I'm talking about. This user saying, Visa card
Here we go.
representative yelled at me. I called this number and simply asked about the content guideline. I got, we've been getting thousands of calls. You talked to someone? Who did you call? Other people accepted what I said, so why don't you? And then saying at Visa is cooked. And then we also got this one saying, did what I could today.
And you know what? Okay, let's go through these and then I'll say something.
Did some work, called Visa. The man was understanding, put me on hold for 25 minutes. When back, it was a new person who was very tired. I then repeated the whole story, and I could hear the sigh of energy draining when they knew what it was leading to. This one's crazy. Says, I wish this was a joke, but I got called a predator today by a Visa rep.
Oh, wow. Oh, wow. Imagine calling a Visa rep to voice your displeasure about this and getting called a rapist. Holy fuck. Well, yeah, that's why I said lodged 2 formal complaints after that and spun circles on the 2 calls was about 25 minutes. This is going to be leading into what I'm saying, but again, I want to hear all of these different stories first.
Think I just happened to be called that. Think I just happened to be a call that pushed the woman over, excuse me. Lodged 2 formal complaints after that and spun circles on the 2 calls and was about 25 minutes. Why would you get called a predator, though? What the frick, dude? And we've also got this one. Says, had a similar issue on the phone yesterday with Visa, in which they were hyper aggressive. And the woman even tried suggesting that I must have been buying illegal content.
Oh, God.
Before launching into her, I'm going to disconnect the call now script. Wait. So, is the implication here that they're being called like predators and buying illegal content because they're fighting back against these restrictions? That seems like the sort of thing like Collective Shout would say. Like I wouldn't expect this from people who are just like Visa hotline people. And
I would. And I'm not saying that every customer service rep at Visa is like this. I am not. I had 0 because there are probably thousands of customer service reps for Visa. Yeah, I have 0 doubt that a number of them are activists that sympathize or align with groups like Collective Shout. I have 0 doubt about that. Statistically speaking, there are going to be a number of people hired by Visa as customer service reps that are basically that they have fully guzzled the fucking Kool-Aid and 100% believe this. Absolutely. Absolutely, I do. However, I am going to say one thing is I do feel kind of bad for a lot of these customer service reps that have to field all of these calls. Because again, these customer service reps did not make the decision that Visa's upper echelon did to basically bully and extort gaming companies. They did not make that decision because the billionaires at the top of the food chain decided to exercise their moral superiority on the planet. Now, their minimum wage frontline workers are the ones that are taking the brunt of it. And
That's quite big.
Really?
Impressive.
Thank you. Off topic, but thank you. I do feel bad for the frontline workers, especially by the fact that the CEO from the CEOs on down don't fucking care. Like, Victor reversed that. The higher ups don't know shit about what the higher ups don't give a shit about what the grunts are going through. Bear that in mind. The CEO, the COO, all of the higher ups in the ivory towers don't fucking care that they have made their frontline workers' lives absolutely fucking miserable. They don't care. They're still raking in their billions of dollars on a daily or weekly basis. They're still filthy fucking rich with their mansions and their yachts, and they're still shopping for more. They don't care that they're destroying their frontline workers' mental health with this decision by getting them inundated with phone calls like this. So, other than the activists that enjoy calling people, speaking respectfully to them, rapists, and making accusations of, you must only be complaining about this because you bought illegal content. Other than them, I do feel bad for these workers that are the victims of their seniors' greed and abject moral superiority that they feel they have to inflict upon the world.
I kind of feel bad for them on one hand because like they're just, the employees who are not responsible for these policy decisions and whatnot, but like they shouldn't be accusing people of being predators and saying they're buying illegal content and everything. My point is,
wait, GBP, I had to call Visa yesterday because I had an issue with my card. I was very polite, respectful, and I got screamed at. GBP, I imagine it's no excuse for you getting screamed at all, but I imagine you're just kind of, because you had a legitimate issue, you just got swept up into the firestorm that is afflicting Visa's customer service department. And unfortunately, you just got swept into that. It's not an excuse for why you got screamed at, particularly because you were polite and respectful. But I can only imagine how many legitimate customers that have legitimate issues with their credit cards have called to try and resolve these legitimate issues that have nothing to do with this event in question, and they're taking the brunt as well and being treated like shit as customers.
but like they shouldn't be accusing people of being predators and saying they're buying illegal content and everything. My point is that seems like the sort of thing you would expect Collective Shout to say, right? Like, oh, you're upset with us going after these games, you must be a predator, or you must be buying illegal content or something.
Sound familiar?
Nonsensical point like that. But apparently these people are saying that even some of these Visa hotline people are saying stuff like this to them. Maybe I'm misunderstanding this. I'm just trying to make sense of some of these responses that people are apparently getting. And as written here, the folks applying pressure know that someone at a call center has limited power in a scenario like this. Typically, agents are equipped to handle standard customer issues like payment fraud or credit card loss. But the point is not to enact change through a specific phone call. It's to cause enough disruption that the ruckus theoretically starts costing payment processors money. That takes us back over to Japanese policy.
Well, Lorenz, that's what I said when this first came up. That is precisely what I said, days ago. When this issue first cropped up, I said exactly that. Is that the fact that they were able to get away with it with Steam is setting the precedent for Collective Shout and for Visa and MasterCard that they can continue to get away with it, and it's only going to escalate. And it's going to go way the fuck beyond games. It is going to go into every other business where if they don't like any part of your business because it conflicts with their moral compass, that they will put their thumb on the scale and say, get rid of that or we're removing your ability to function as a business. So yeah, I said that, last week or even earlier than that.
Politician Zenko Kurishita.
Yeah, Rocax, we actually talked about that. What's written here
shows you how Collective Shout went about this and why this strategy that gamers are now using to go after payment processors is essentially fighting fire with fire. So he says, the Australian organization Collective Shout has been pushing for content restrictions on Steam and itch.io, according to records published on their website. They sent 1,067 emails to payment processors like Visa and MasterCard starting in May. If such a number of emails led to regulations that caused around 20,000 adult games to disappear, with reports also indicating that these games were removed from the libraries of users who had previously purchased them.
Okay, that's a new one. This is the first time I'm hearing that games were actually removed from the libraries of users who had purchased that. I'm taking that one with a grain of salt. That people who had purchased it and it was in their libraries had it ripped out of their libraries after they purchased money for it. It's not saying through whom. It looks like it's not saying if it was done through Steam or itch. If that's true, that's a lawsuit. If that's true, that would very well be a lawsuit if that's the case and they were not refunded. But also, it's the first time I'm hearing about this, so I am wondering what the legitimacy of this is. It's reports indicating that they were removed from the libraries. I'm taking that with a grain of salt. I'm taking this statement as with a grain of salt because it is the first time I've heard this. I would have thought that if this had occurred, we would have heard about this before now. So I'm not sure how viable this statement is.
It can only be described as a serious threat to creators and users. Even though there might have been many times more people who felt those works were fine or liked them, what about the effort put in by these creators? They are unilaterally decided without consideration. This asymmetry, along with the lack of transparency and information disclosure, is also a significant issue. And he cites Collective Shout's, presumably their own website here, where they outline some of their strategy as we just went over. And as mentioned, the point to this is, well, if Collective Shout sent around 1,000 emails for that period of a few months or whatever it was, I mean, the internet can do a lot more than that. The internet can do a lot more than that, man. So it's kind of hilarious seeing these payment processors bending the knee to Collective Shout. And now it's like, oh, really? Okay, 1K emails.
And again, I'm going to point this out. I don't think the payment processors bent the knee. I disagree with that entirely. This is not Visa and MasterCard bent the knee. This is Visa and MasterCard saw that was contacted by Collective Shout and they said, oh, we can use this as an excuse to exercise power and authority over another company to reflect our own personal morals, regardless of whether there's an issue of legality. They're using Collective Shout as a shield to hide behind their own nefarious intentions. Yeah, exactly, Michael Viper. They've been wanting to do this for a long time. They have been doing this. It's just been on a smaller scale. They use Collective Shout as a scapegoat to basically step up their game and go after the bigger companies. So let's not pretend that Visa and MasterCard bent the knee to Collective Shout. That's not happening. No way, no how is that what's happening. Collective Shout is basically a useful idiot in this case. They are using Collective Shout as their useful idiot to say, we only did this because this feminist activist group is calling for change. And so we basically said, okay, we agree with that. And they're basically just using them as the shield to try and get people to go after Collective Shout instead of Visa. Unfortunately for Visa, that didn't work. And people either are ignoring it or they're seeing right the fuck through it. And they're going after Visa directly.
However many phone calls that these Australian feminists may have sent, well, good luck now with the internet coming after you. Now, as I said before, I think it's completely reasonable speculation that the executives at these payment processors
Anubis, they are one of only a couple.
Have no issue with Collective Shout trying to get them to do this stuff. What I mean more specifically is they want to try and abuse their power and see what they can get away with. So I don't think like the whole Collective Shout thing worked simply because they annoy these payment processors. No, I think these payment processors also saw this as an opportunity to test how much power and control.
Boom. What did I say? What have I been saying? I've said this. I said this, what, days ago? I said this last week. I said this exact thing. I called this a week ago. I called this a fucking week ago.
They have, right? So simply annoying them back doesn't mean that they may start operating in a different way when those executives literally want to try to control the internet. But the point still stands that using the strategy of fighting fire with fire and clogging up their logistics can still harm the company. Here's a testimonial on Steam 4 days ago. This is about an email, so a bit different from the ones we read earlier regarding phone call responses.
Oh, here we go.
I've got a response from Visa. Reads, hello.
This was okay. This was in the video I decided not to look at yesterday because we already know about this. It's basically Visa saying we didn't do anything wrong. You're a meanie for claiming that we actually would have done something so heinous. We would never do something like that. Whereas all evidence points to that was a fucking lie.
Redacted. Thank you for reaching out and sharing your perspective. As a global company, we follow the laws and regulations everywhere we do business. While we explicitly prohibit illegal activity on our network, we are equally committed to protecting illegal commerce. If a transaction is legal, our policy is to process.
Right. That was a fucking lie. And Steam and itch.io have the fucking receipts to prove it. Okay? This is a bald-faced, every word in the statement is a fucking lie because both Steam and itch put out publicly. Steam added a 15th rule to their TOS saying that the game you wish to list on Steam must comply with the payment processor's TOS. In addition to Steam's own TOS, their new 15th TOS rule is any game that you wish to list must comply with the payment processor's requirements. Itch.io put out a public statement saying we've had to de-index all of these things because of the payment processor. Both of them specified the payment processor. So Visa, this was a fucking lie. And Steam and itch have the receipts to prove it. So go fuck yourself with this corporatized bullshit. You don't hate corporations enough. And by the way, Pest, thank you for the follow.
The transaction. We do not make moral judgments on legal purchases made by consumers. Yeah, right. Oh my gosh. The OP goes on and like calls that out too. We'll get to that though. Visa does not moderate content sold by merchants, nor do we have
lie.
What? They really saying that?
Fucking lie.
Visa does not moderate content sold by merchants, nor do we have visibility into the specific goods or services sold when we process a transaction. When a legally operating merchant faces an elevated risk of legal activity, we require enhanced safeguards for the banks supporting those merchants. For more information on Visa's policies, please visit our network integrity page on visa.com. Hyperlink.
Visa doesn't have fuck all for integrity.
Visa
Shut the fuck up.
And as mentioned, the OP calls this out. I guess I will just...
Visa, you said you are committed to protecting legal commerce. The lie detector said you fucking lied.
God damn it, Maury. Why couldn't you have ever really said that? I would pay good money to hear Maury have actually said that on one show once. All right, is he going to read this?
For a second. He reads,
okay.
So basically their response was the biggest gaslighting I've ever seen.
Yes.
Talk about trying to block the sun with one finger. I've never heard that one before. It's funny. They completely deny moderating content even when there's an overabundance of evidence. Anyways, we should keep on pressing the issue. I'll share the template I used on the first comment and the Visa website so you can give them your regards. Just remember to be polite but firm. Also, the template has been modified by me to not have invalid characters and have enough characters to send without issue, but is based on a template another user shared. Now, hypothetically, guys, I'm just throwing this out there. I'm not saying it's a good idea, but like, if the single goal is to just like clog up their logistics and make things more complicated for the company and all that, that means you could even call them and just like make up some completely like insane story about like a fake fraud case that happened or something.
No, don't do that. Bad fucking idea to do that. Number one, you're again, it's not these service reps' fault about this. So you're torturing these poor customer service reps. But number two, making up a fake fraud call, you will get arrested for that. That is tantamount to making a false report. Because if you talk about there being a fake fraud event happening and they actually notate that down, if you talk about doing a fake fraud, there is an investigation and they may contact the law enforcement about that, you will be on the hook for false report. That is a crime. You will go to jail for it. So do not fucking do that. Do not. And don't even call Visa making up fake stuff. Don't even call Visa making up fake stuff, because then you are disingenuous. You want to if you want to clog up their phone lines and stuff, that's fine. Clog them up, and with the actual reason of, we don't like what this is happening. We don't like the Visa's policies for doing this. Clogging up the phone lines with fake bullshit is disingenuous to what you're doing and only makes Visa look like the victim if you do that. We don't want Visa as a company to look like a victim. And if you make up stories when calling the Visa customer support line, and you're making up stories about something and you're being false about it, you're now giving Visa the victim card that they can play. So don't fucking do that. Well, Revan, in this right now, no. But if Visa starts saying we're getting harassed by people calling and making up fake complaints, then Visa can do a victim, because don't forget, these calls are all recorded. So you don't want to give them, in this situation, you don't want to give them even the smallest bit of ammunition so that Visa can say we're getting spammed by fake callers. You don't want to give them any ammunition on this. Be genuine, be honest, be polite, but be firm, and don't make up shit, especially fake fraud calls. Especially that.
Like, you don't even need to actually mention that it's about all this stuff, referring to, like the payment processor, censorship, and whatnot. You could be like, yeah, dude, my freaking dog was like chewing up my credit card, and then I was trying to take it from his mouth, and like my hand slipped after I like pulled it out. Oh, that sounded kind of weird, but but the credit card like went flying, and some freaking like homeless person picked it up and ran off, and I couldn't catch him. And now I think I'm like worried that there's a bunch of fake, purchases. And then
yeah, again, don't fucking do that. Do not fucking do that. That is illegal. That is a crime. That is making a fake fraudulent report. Don't do this. Hirohei, no, this is horrible fucking advice. Do not do this. Ever. You will get a knock at your door from either local law enforcement or even the FBI, and you will get arrested for filing false report. Because the credit card companies, when you say there's a possibility of fraud, they are by law required to initiate investigation. And cynical, this is not even like they can cancel your card, because there's the implication that you don't have a card in the first place, and you're just making up a false statement, making up a false report. And that is illegal. I cannot stress this enough. Don't fucking do this. It is illegal, and it does not help it doesn't basically help the cause. It actually harms the cause far more than it could possibly help by doing this.
they're like, okay, what's your information so we can help you? It's like, dude, I don't remember. It's on the card. Like, I don't have the card anymore. Like, you got to help me, though. You can just, like, make up the craziest stuff.
I don't think he did, Lone Wolf.
Maybe that's a bad idea, though. Yeah, I'm not suggesting anyone actually do that. I'm just saying, though. And so back...
Wait a sec?
Maybe that's a bad idea, though. Yeah, I'm not suggesting anyone actually do that. I'm just saying, though. And so...
He shouldn't have suggested in the first place, honestly. I agree with Hirohei on a lot of stuff. On this, I'm going to vehemently disagree with even suggesting it. It is he should have cut that bit. It was a bad idea to leave that in. Hero, hey, that was a bad call on your part. I'm sorry. I agree with you on most everything you say. That's a bad call.
Remember, strays, we have the truth, so no lying.
The truth is the facts are good enough. The facts are more than good enough. There's no need to resort to lying on this issue.
Back on the Reddit thread, someone basically said, like, yeah, man, all you got was a generic response, but I appreciate the effort. And the OP responds to that saying, honestly, I expected nothing, or a generic non-response email about how much they appreciate the feedback and do their best to work it out or something along those lines. What I didn't expect was such a blatant gaslighting attempt / straight up lie. Anyway, nothing new under the sun. I just thought the community might get a kick out of it. And I'll leave it there. Just thought some of this stuff was pretty amusing, and I hope you guys got a laugh out of it. Despite some bad news lately, there is some wholesomeness with people fighting back together, fighting back against these corrupt companies and these corpos. So yeah. Once again, thank you for tuning in. Appreciate you. Consider liking and subscribing if you enjoyed my coverage. I'll see you in the comments here and in the next one.
Okay. So that last bit aside, good video. Good to see people, good to see gamers fighting back. And to a degree, it's kind of working. Visa had to respond. They didn't have to respond. Visa did respond. So it's, it's the first small step. It is the first small step. We just gotta keep going. We as the community have to keep the pressure up. We have got, people need to keep the pressure up and keep on us. So yeah.